Hey guys, welcome to the Big Blue United podcast. My name is TJ. I'm here with Dan and Colin. How you guys doing? How you feeling after the draft and the live cast and all that excitement that happened last week?
I feel cool. I feel good. I feel calm, collected, and feeling like our leadership is calm and collected. So we have 11 new players that were drafted and more to come after that, undrafted. So we basically have a whole new team coming. So I'm feeling good.
I'm feeling bad. I got football fever and it put me on my butt. Feel pretty sick. I was so sick last night. This has never happened to me before, and I don't know if it's happened to any human, but I was seriously mouth breathing. And when I woke up, I had like mucus or boogers like caked onto my front teeth.
Sick.
Like I had to like scratch the boogers off my like. Is that my mouth was dry but boogery is insane.
I will say that because my nose is all crooked and I can only breathe out of one nostril, sometimes I have to breathe out of my mouth, and I hate it when I sleep because, yes, you get this nasty feeling and film in your mouth. Oh, it's horrible. I hate it so much.
It's the worst.
Oh,
This is the worst episode we've ever had, I think. This is it. This is the one.
No, this is going to be the best one because we're going to talk about the draft.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good. But I had fun last week in the Wilson store. Thanks to David Lugo again and crew for having us, and Adriana awesome. And Michelle and Ian Melissa. And everybody who came out. What did I say?
Someone that doesn't exist.
I'm sorry, Melissa. I'm terrible with names, man. I really got to work on this. I think I said the wrong name to Ian earlier that day too, man. All right, I'm gonna work.
And you're in the hospitality business
hard.
Too. Like this is like should be a layup for you.
I don't care anymore about that. So the whole point of the hospitality business is just to get people to part with their money, and I'm not trying to be your friend.
Go to Teddy's. Here. The bartenders won't even try to know your names. They'll just call you.
No, you know what?
Wait. So Teddy's is the bar where no one knows your name.
No one cares.
It's totally opposite of that.
It's the opposite of Cheers. It's like
I'm doing a really good job right now, just in general. I'm like, number one, I said Melissa's name wrong, and number two, I'm saying how bad I am at my job while you're mentioning the name of my bar. Awesome.
I mean, if you're gonna get that free promo time, you're gonna get the thorns that come with it.
Just move on, guys. Please follow Big Blue United on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow us at BBU Pod Boys with a Z on Twitter. The Pigskin Podcast Network at the Pigskin Podnet. Download the DraftKings app. Use promo code TPPN. And our sponsor this week, who was actually really our sponsor last week too. I know we were at the Wilson store, but NEFT Vodka, ladies and gentlemen, is how we got through the night, I would say. So we got there under the impression that there might be, a beer or two to have before the draft, and there wasn't. So NEFT hooked us up, and we all were just kind of drinking our individual NEFT vodka bottles during the course of the draft. Literally just, this is how cool and easy this is. It's almost like a little hand grenade.
It's an incredible presentation.
It's wonderful. Just, pop the top off right here like that. Oh, yeah. And then you just kind of.
Yep.
Yep.
You see? No face. It's delicious. It's absolutely delicious.
For sure. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I drank soda for the first time in a long time, and it pairs wonderfully with it. So,
yeah, I haven't had a Sprite since I was a child, and when you put vodka in it, it's great. Oh. But anyway, please, guys, get some NEFT Vodka. It's delicious. It's amazing. The packaging is really fun, and we're all really into NEFT Vodka now. Yeah. This is the whole thing about this podcast.
For sure.
They're going to be our sponsor, even when they aren't our sponsor.
Yeah, it's perfect timing. It's summertime. You got to be drinking the vodka sodas to keep slim and trim, like we all do here on Big Blue United.
Right.
Get the 6-pack blazing.
6-pack?
6-pack. I was thinking about picks.
Yeah.
6-pack.
Oh, draft picks.
Yep. Draft picks.
Good segue.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get some pick six.
Best segue I've ever heard on this podcast. Before we talk about the Giants, I just want to ask you guys, overall draft, what were your impressions? Anything shocking? Anything weird? Anything, you weren't expecting, were expecting?
I mean, the most glaring thing is the just the pure insanity of the wide receiver run. I don't think
I
there
was
was
gonna say the
anything
same
crazier
thing.
than that.
Mhm.
Yeah, the
And in
draft was
multiple
like
rounds.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. The draft was going pretty much chalk until we hit the 13th pick there, and people started trading up and down.
Olav is where it got weird.
Yeah.
With the Saints, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
but-
he did end up like 8 teams didn't even pick in the first round, which is so crazy. I feel
Right.
like,
Tampa Bay traded out. What other team traded out? The Vikings traded out of the first round.
Yeah.
I mean,
among
I
the
think that
guys
also,
who traded before.
yeah. I think it also indicates people are realizing the value of having more shots than higher up shots. Taking moving back 5 spots and grabbing an additional 4th round pick or 5th round pick or whatever goes a long way. And I think it also goes to show, like, we've done so many mock drafts this year and looked at so many big boards, and everything we looked at was so totally different than how the GMs drafted across the board, really. This year, I mean, there's obviously some standouts. I think we'd all agree, like the Ravens and the Eagles crushed. And we can go into some examples of that, but I think there was a big disparity between the pros and the amateurs this year with the draft analysis and player evaluations.
It was very indicative too. I mean, it was clear that teams looked at this draft in particular as, and don't take this on surface level, but sort of how do you put this? Like almost a middle heavy draft, meaning the quality and the value was not in the forefront. It was later on. And that's why you saw these teams trading out. They're just like, I can get something later.
Yeah. I think we all sort of saw that coming, right? Like the top wasn't as heavy, and we all liked a ton of guys like in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounds. And when we were trading down, that's all we were doing was getting like 30 like 3rd round picks and just getting everybody. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with how it makes it hard, kind of like in our position. You're kind of sort of like a second level evaluator, right? There's people that are evaluating these players, and you're kind of like reading the evaluations and then evaluating the evaluations, and then you basically only have to go off of mock drafts and big boards and stuff like that. So
we're not even watching film, like,
literally, and well, I won't say I never watch highlights, but watching highlights is not watching film. It's vastly different. But just to see guys that maybe we're projected in the 7th round, we're going in the 3rd round or whatever. It was just the disparity was huge to me, and it kind of just made me sort of second guess kind of myself and be like, what are we really evaluating here at the end of the day? You don't know anything, and even the people who are making the mocks don't know anything either. And when it comes down to it, you kind of can say the GMs don't really know either, because nothing's a surefire bet. But it was definitely a fun draft, and I like how spicy it was. It wasn't exactly what you expect. Even in the 1st round, there was a lot of things that you weren't expecting to happen. So overall, I thought it was cool. I mean, do you guys have any comments about who you thought was best or worst draft? I know, Dan, you just kind of mentioned the Eagles or Ravens. You want to elaborate on that at all? Or
maybe not necessarily answering who had the worst or best, but like I just have to throw it out there here too, and especially after looking at Twitter the last couple of days, and this Giants fan base has got to like really, really take it easy. It's really, really friggin' strange how everyone's acting.
We'll get right into that when we talk about Wendell Robinson.
Yes.
That'll
You're
be
right.
a great time to discuss that.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I have to just mention that I love the Ravens, what they did in the 1st and 2nd rounds too, and I think their defense is just going to be awesome. And the only thing I have to say that's really good for them also is that they traded Hollywood Brown for a 1st round pick, and he was not worth a 1st round pick.
No, he's not.
In any stretch of the imagination. So you trade him for basically Linderbaum, which I think is a great straight up trade. Maybe the Ravens are a little thin at wide receiver now, but Rashad Bateman is all right. There's not too much depth behind him, but I think, with the way their offense is structured more on the run and with Lamar Jackson running the ball, maybe, you take a step back from, tossing the ball a lot. I mean, Mark Andrews obviously, helps them out in 3rd down and stuff like that. But I love their draft. And I loved, Ajabo too, who I wanted the Giants to pick in the 2nd round, but we'll talk about that later. But I do want to mention how much I hated the Jaguars draft, because I just thought the Trayvon Walker pick, you can make the same argument against Thibodeau technically, that they're both really athletically gifted, but didn't necessarily have the production. But I mean, Trevor Walker had 9 sacks his entire college career, and then you're going to pick him first overall. I don't know. It's just like, and then I was reading this other thing where they're picking 2 middle linebackers basically in second, and trade up to pick a middle linebacker, pick another middle linebacker in the 3rd round, and then he just paid another middle linebacker in free agency far more money than he should have been paid. Do you guys even heard of this guy, Olukin?
No.
Apparently they gave him the bag at the middle linebacker and then drafted 2. I don't know. I just want to lament the Jaguars as much as I can. They're just such a bad team.
And what else is new?
It's almost a shame because, like, I mean, you remember how them back in the day, like when they came out, they were like kind of good. I mean, with the Tom Coughlins and Mark Brunells and was that David Caldwell, was it? And
David
Fred
Garrard.
Taylor.
David Garrard, yeah.
David
Maurice Jones-Drew. They always had good defensive players. I mean, they were in the AFC Championship not that many years ago.
Yeah, and they were fun. They
With
were
Blake
kind of
Traded
Bortles.
all their players away. Yeah.
I don't know. I think their owner is he's got too many hands and too many pots. I don't think he knows what the hell he's doing.
Weird decisions, and the Christian Kirk thing is another one that was just the most mind-boggling.
Oh,
deal
yeah,
I've
that's
kind of
started
ever
it.
seen in NFL history. Like, I mean, let's see. They have Doug Peterson now, who won a Super Bowl. I know you guys hate his guts, but he does have some track record. I don't know. I won't be watching them, but we'll see what happens. I'll see the record, so who knows. Anything else you guys want to touch on there before we move on to the Giants draft? Or
I think we should just mention the Eagles draft
Yeah,
a little
please,
bit,
sure.
since we're going to be playing them twice a year forever, and now we have to go up against Jordan Davis. And they made really smart picks with I think the Cam Jurgens pick they had in the 2nd round. A center that can fill for Kelsey when he goes. He's towards the end of his career.
Yeah.
They got Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round, which was probably the biggest head scratcher of the draft. Why did he fall? And there was rumors about his health and everything, but according to the Eagles, he's gonna play immediately once practice opens.
Well, just a little added tidbit that I saw. This was actually stemming off of a question that was asked by Shane and Dable why they didn't go for him. And Shane's answer was kind of interesting. He said, "Oh, I don't know what you have, in terms of your information out there, but there's reasons why people let him drop," in so many words. And
Yeah.
I looked more into that, and I mean, take it what you will, but like his birthday was 2 weeks ago, and none of his teammates went. His old teammates, and like he's got personality issues and stuff like that. So it's like
I thought it might have been interviews. I thought you're right.
it
Yeah,
might
but
have been.
I think at the same time that this guy is probably going to be blowing up our screens and our running backs for many years to come.
Yeah.
We'll see what
It's a
happens, but-
crapshoot. It's a good crapshoot to have, especially since he dropped that far. I mean, power to the Eagles for doing it, but like there has to be a reason why nobody touched him for a couple of rounds. It's crazy.
I mean,
On top of the injury stuff.
yeah. No, I mean, who knows? It's just rare that there's a disparity that great between common consensus and where players eventually go.
Yeah.
Someone that was like a lock for the top 20 pick, without any indicator otherwise.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just think coming out of the 1st round, Jordan Davis and AJ Brown on both sides of the ball, that's going to suck as a Giants fan. Like maybe that makes more. I think the Jordan Davis thing makes the Wendell Robinson thing make more sense. Like we're just not going to run up the middle ever again. We're going to split Saquon out. We're going to have 2 slot wide receivers, two X wide receivers, and just keep everything on the periphery because they already had a stout run defense to begin with, and that man is huge. He's just going to eat people alive.
It's funny you say that because you might. I mean, not defensively. I think defensively, you're going to see kind of a throwback situation to Giants of old days style. But the offense, we might not recognize this offense.
Hope not.
You won't.
No.
better
And
not.
what I mean by that is like it won't even be touching like Eli era or any
not.
sort of like Brandon Jacobs. Like it won't.
No.
There, I don't think Smash Mouth is going to be a part of this at all anymore.
It's not. We hired Brian Dable and Kafka. They
Well,
run the polar opposite offense of those.
I know, but it's all going to be predicated on the players that they get, and that Wendell Robinson is definitely an indicator of that. I mean, everybody freaking out of too many slot wide receivers
let's
coming out.
let's
All right,
hold
we'll get
off.
to it
Let's
there,
hold
yeah.
off for this
I know.
conversation until a
I,
little
I'm
bit.
like
I know you,
chomping at the bit.
It is the biggest thing to talk about today.
Yeah.
I do agree with you, but we'll get there. Giants draft, guys. I don't think we need to give an overall impression because we kind of just do that on the way. But I mean, for me, I'm happy with the first round. Some of the later round picks were a little questionable to me, but I think overall they did well. I mean, the only thing I really want to ask you guys is, are you surprised James Bradbury is still a Giant right now? And what do you think is going to go on with that?
It's a game of chicken, right? I think people are just waiting for the Giants to lower the price enough or to cut him and take him because they know we can't keep him. I don't know. I mean, I haven't really thought about that. I mean, my impression of the Giants draft is after that first round, they could basically do whatever they want, and I'd be happy.
Sure.
And although like I wasn't too hyped on a lot of the guys we got in later rounds, there's a few in there I really do like. They address the same positions that I would have addressed, which means their evaluation of these players, which they actually did an evaluation, is just different from the consensus big boards we've seen. So like if they weren't to like draft offensive linemen or players in the secondary, then I would be like super pissed. But they just chose people I didn't hear about when I was reviewing PFF for like the gajillionth time.
Yeah, I liked. I mean, obviously the offensive lineman, accumulating of those guys, it was so huge, and I thought it was very interesting that we're going to have 2 North Carolina guys. Which I guess that in retrospect, what I read up on it is like that was a heavy trip for the Giants in general. Like that was a big. They were evaluating Sam Howell and like everything else as well. And I don't think I really paid much attention to it because you don't think of North Carolina as, I don't know, this college that is so heralded, but I guess they're getting better and better.
Basketball, you do. Maybe
Well,
not
yeah,
in the
but
NFL.
for football,
Or
I
football,
mean,
rather.
they've been okay for
Better than
a
Duke.
long time.
F Duke, man.
Yeah, well,
I do like JJ Redick though. I can't get down on him.
really?
Yeah. Well, I don't like anybody. Yeah, I liked him. I mean, who else went to Duke that's any good at anything?
Just basketball players.
No, you can mention NFL players too.
Oh, Dave Brown, obviously.
Okay. Yep. And that's it.
I mean, and he wasn't good. So
No, I know, it's a joke.
It's Daniel Jones joke, Colin. It's Daniel Jones joke.
well, he's still on the team, so I'm going to let that roll.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
great.
you know what? I mean, I'm going to go on a little tangent quickly because I'm very happy that the Joe Shane has added, 9 offensive linemen this offseason. And now the Giants have Saquon Barkley, Kadarius Toney, Wendell Robinson, Darius Slayton, Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, Ricky Seals-Jones. So this is it. This
Jordan
is the
Aiken.
year. This is the year. Yeah, sure, Jordan Aiken. This is the year. And after week 5, if he's not putting up, then I hope the people out there can finally realize. But yes, Colin, there are a lot of delusional Giants fans, as we'll get into. Man, we're all just trying to chomp at the bit here. Before we get into the second round pick and the most probably contentious part of the draft, first round, guys, amazing. I thought.
Nothing better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's been any number or a huge amount of talk about Thibodeau and Neal, so I don't know how much we need to talk about them. All I'll say is that I know there were issues with Thibodeau, but I think with Strahan coming in and doing, going to be his mentor, and I read an interview with him, it got me excited that maybe he's going to not care so much about his brand because Strahan is kind of in his ear being like, if you don't succeed on the field, then none of this other stuff matters, which is what he had said. So
he said, like, the brand gets shut down. I got to learn the playbook before training camp. That's like, good. And say it and then do it. Let's see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I really don't care at all about the brand talk or any of those personality red flags. I think it's all, just hot air. Like the guy is an athletic freak, super capable of taking the next step. Highly touted, highly drafted. I mean, highly sought out as a high school recruit. And the slam on him is that he, thinks about stuff outside of football. Like,
True.
Why do we care? Why do we care? Like, it doesn't matter. They just juxtapose him to Aiden Hutchinson, who's like, "Oh, I eat footballs for breakfast," and like get real, man. Like this this guy is great. He's got an amazing personality. We saw the clip of him when they were asking about like, what do you want to tell Giants fans? He's like, while you sleep, I'm practicing, or when you sleep, I'm working. When you wake up, I'm working. When you go to bed, I'm working. And when you watch the fourth quarter, I'll be working.
He might die if he doesn't sleep, though. I think he should get some rest.
I mean,
probably should go to
whatever.
Sleep
It's just been. I know. It's been so long since there's been like a vocal, charismatic person on the Giants, and like, I don't know if people couch it in the Giants way. Like, what do you think Mike Strahan would have been like if there was Twitter and Instagram in his heyday?
Oh, it would have been insane.
He'd be all over it. He'd be tweeting at everything.
I mean, he was crazy in the media then.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, it's all put in perspective. Like, if you want to know how I felt, you guys can watch the YouTube clip of us celebrating the picks. Pure joy, pure ecstasy. I couldn't speak for a bit of time there. Just couldn't be happier with the first round, really, and can't wait to see them. And I think one of the things is like, we don't expect to win a Super Bowl now, but the team got a lot more fun to watch.
Absolutely,
already instantly.
Oh yeah,
there's gonna be stuff to like be excited about, and it's gonna be fun.
Can I mention my favorite question in that interview, by the way, was with him was what's better, sacks or sex? And he said sacks, because at some point you can't get sacks anymore. I was like, well, you're full of shit, dude, but I'm gonna take this answer for sure.
I mean, he's not wrong. You can't be sacking people like when you're not playing football anymore.
When you're 90, no.
Well, yeah, because they got a pill for that now. But they don't have a pill for sacks.
I mean, you could start just tackling people in the street, but that probably wouldn't last long.
All right, there we go. I like that.
Let's try it, guys. Let's this week we'll go out and we'll just tackle people and see how that goes.
I'm sure it'll go over swimmingly. Yeah. I wanted to also ask you guys, how much money do you think Graham Gano is asking for number 5?
Oh, that's a great question.
How much money?
Oh, well, they quoted like $250K.
He said $250, and I don't know about the zeros. Is that $250,000 or $25,000? $250,000.
Yeah,
probably.
And probably. Well, do you remember when it was Plexico came to the Giants and he bought out 17 from Fiegels, and it was like, I don't remember the money number, but it was like a vacation was the second part. It was like money and a vacation, so it might be something like that too.
So if you're a kicker, the best way to get more money is to make sure to pick a really popular number and then try to sell it to another player.
He's going to buy it. He's going to get 5. He wants 5.
55 is good too.
No, Mr. Nichols.
Mr. Nichols. When you see 5-5 coming through, do you remember? We're referring to LeVar Arrington when he was signed, and I remember how hype everybody was for Mr. 5-5, Mr. Nichols, and then
he was really good for like 3 games.
He had the one safety on Drew Bledsoe when he was on the Cowboys, and it was just like I felt my heart explode, and then he just
was awesome. Yeah,
he also devoured the Redskins at the time. They were called the Redskins then. He had a game where he just destroyed that whole game.
Not familiar with that team.
Yeah, well, that's what they were called when the game happened. So, also, I think the money that he will lose, giving to Graham Gano, will be made up for when his number is 5. I feel like a number 5, defensive end jersey will sell better. Just like number science there.
Yeah. No, that's going to be. I mean, you don't want to get ahead of yourself, but like if he ends up being really good, that's an all-time jersey.
Well, yeah.
Well ahead of ourselves.
I hope so, Colin.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, if he's at even a little bit good, the name, the number, the fact that like that rule changed kind of recently, and we haven't really had a defensive player kind of go that route. I mean, that's amazing.
True.
All right.
Second
Evan
round,
Neal,
guys. You want to talk about Evan Neal at all? I mean, I don't. Honestly,
yeah, we can.
He's the only one I don't really have notes on, because I think he's just going to come in here, plug and play, and be the second best player on the line right away.
Yep.
It would shock me if that he came in and struggled early on, but Andrew Thomas did. I think at left tackle it's a little more difficult. Right tackle he's going to have an easier time transitioning. I think that's a more natural position for him.
Yeah.
That pick excites me more than the Thibodeau pick, to be honest with you, because the defense has been good and the offense have just been atrocious for so long. I mean, I will get into talking about what we think the offense is going to look like in a second, but this pick was really amazing. And I love that Thibodeau ended at 5 because you had Ikanawa or Neal there, and you could do whatever you wanted at 5. The draft, Ikanawa. Am I pronouncing it wrong?
I think
every time.
Can we make a switch to just Thibodeau?
Thibodeau?
Yeah, Thibodeau. Let's do Thibodeau.
Kayvon
Thibodeau.
It's not Thibodeau?
No, I don't think it's
All right. Either way, let me finish my thought. So the Giants had the best first round you could possibly have asked for as a Giants fan. You have two guys who basically were number 1 overall, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't say masterful work necessarily because it kind of fell in your lap, but they did make what I think everyone thought was the right choice.
It was like the easiest first round for Giants GMs in years.
I'm sure you'd be hard pressed to find anybody, in the league or evaluating it or talking about it that would say that the Giants did anything wrong in the first round based upon the information available.
I'll agree, but if this was the previous regime, I would not be shocked if Gettleman was choosing this and he's like, well, Neal's our number 1 guy, so I'm going to take him at 5, even though we'd really like Kayvon. But no, you can't pass him up because you can't do that.
I agree.
And then you lose him, and then you have like Icky there at number 7, and you're like, well, couldn't afford to risk it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that sort of like logical, rational approach that this regime took was not a guarantee if this was last year. Like you can never trust a guy that falls in full bloom love with people, and just I can't overstate how nice it is to have people in the front office that are making decisions that make sense and for seemingly with a plan. And it's just nice not to have to worry about everything going wrong all the time.
And a quick little segue on top of that. 2 guys that were hired by Dave Gettleman are out. And who are they?
You want me to say it? Well, you know who it is.
Well, it's Chris Pettit, and I forget the other guy, so help me out.
Chris Pettit and Kyle, what's his name? Kyle O'Brien.
Yeah, and I can't believe they stayed as long as they did. It's almost like
one less Irish guy there.
Well, whatever. Yeah. I'm sure it was one of those things where they gave him the opportunity. All right, yeah. Here, what do you think during this draft? Oh, you're an idiot. Okay, you're out.
Oh, you bring nothing to the table.
Yeah,
you've just been in this front office for like 15 years and you've learned nothing. Okay, see ya.
Well, I mean, O'Brien's position didn't even exist until last year when Gettleman just made it up. So, I mean,
is he a nephew? Right?
He must know somebody.
I think he's a nephew. Yeah, and he got promoted like ultra fast. I think if you read like that article that came out after the season, they talk about him a bit. But super happy about that.
Oh yeah,
cool. Bye.
Actually, I think Will brought Chris Pettit up during the live stream last week, and he was just like, "I can't wait until he's gone." And then lo and behold. But anyway,
he willed it into existence.
Yeah,
nice.
Although he's gotten himself into some trouble this week, but let's not talk about that.
Oh yeah.
All right. What everyone's been waiting for. Who wants to talk about the Wendell Robinson pick first? Should I flip a coin or?
Yeah, flip a coin.
Colin, you want to do it? Just
okay. Go. Well, I mean, I think the 3 of us, the instant reaction was visceral, in the fact that we had no idea who he was really. Even in all of our mock drafts, we didn't even see him floating around. It was nothing like that.
I was familiar with him.
Yeah, but not there. Definitely
not there is right, but I mean that's indicative of kind of everything that happened. Yeah. So it wasn't so like out of the blue that a wide receiver came off the board early that you didn't expect. That was basically this entire draft, right?
Yeah, and I was kind of bummed at the fact that we were going just in general wide receiver that early. I didn't think it was necessary to go there, but I let it simmer a little bit, and I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, all right, let me go check Twitter and see like what the general consensus is, and it's just like. I mean, I love Nikki Snacks to death, but like his first reaction was she was just like, well, back to Gettleman. Everyone sucks. Everyone's the worst. This is the worst draft ever. Might as well just fold the club. That's it. That's the end of it. I was just laughing. I'm like, dude, I love you because you are so reactionary. And I love that. But he
loves the team, man.
Yeah. And he gives himself time to like calm down and like have like 24 hours to figure it out. There's other people that still right now think because of that pick, it was the worst draft we've had in years. And I'm just like, what? Do you just want to fail now at this point? It drives me insane. And it like, and I don't, peruse a lot of other fan bases' Twitter scenes, but like, it's one of the most toxic fan bases when it comes to that sort of stuff. And it drives me nuts because I want to allow myself to be cool with who we pick because of the hope that I have in this front office. So if that's a guy right there that they felt they needed to get maybe earlier than where he was slotted, so be it. Let's see him play. Let's see him develop. I mean, everything I showed you some random stats of like how he ranked in terms of the SEC and like other wide receivers there, and like he's in the top 5.
It's just dumbfounding to me. You know, you're so excited that the Giants have moved on and brought in these new guys, and you're super pumped for them. They kill the first round, and then they trade down twice, which, you know, people wanted to happen, by the way. And then you get upset because they pick a guy who had, you know, 1,300 yards, 100 receptions, and 7 touchdowns. Sure, he's small. Sure, the Giants have 3 slot receivers now. All I can think of is when I was reading about him was that he can play halfback too, and that the Giants are going to make him Deebo Samuel.
Yeah,
is what I think is going to happen. And also, I know one of you guys sent this earlier. I mean, the Bills and the Chiefs, the Niners rather, and where Kafka's from, excuse me.
Kafka's from the Chiefs.
Kafka's from the Chiefs, excuse me. I got it right the first time. Anyway, both had like, you know, highest percentage of pre-snap motion in the league. Giants had the least or close to the least the last several years. So all of a sudden you have all these pieces to move around behind the line. And people complain because they have to get schemed in. It's like, fine. You finally have competent people making the scheme. So if you have to make certain plays for certain players and not just say, oh, well, shoot Kenny Golladay down the sideline and we won't throw him the ball. Like, I mean, what are people thinking right now? You know, it's like, I get, you know, there's a number of people that could have jumped in and been a starter at any given position, or you could have, you know, picked a Dabo and, you know, had that crazy pass rush or tried to get that crazy pass rush back that, you know, won the Giants the Super Bowls in the past years. But, you know, just to sit there and like, you know, criticize and be toxic and just hate this pick to me is just, it's insane. It's just inane. Like, you know, put some trust in these guys and what they're going to do. We don't know what the offense is going to look like. Maybe they didn't have the pieces there that they thought they should. Maybe they thought Kadarius Toney had an injury history and would get hurt and they needed someone to jump in and pick up the slack when he was hurt. You don't know. So don't make the judgment because it's, you know, you have to put faith in the team is my point. And I think, Colin, that was your point too.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, I mean, I don't know. I'm excited about him. I think it'll be cool to see how they use him. I mean, that's you're right. That's the one thing that people have to remember is like, this isn't the last regime. Let it show itself before you say anything. We got mad at Gettleman because the proof was in the pudding. He did stupid crap over and over again, and it was continuing.
When they picked Toney last year, I was like, well, how are you going to get him the ball? Because you can't do anything on offense. You can't be creative. That was like the knock on him was that he needed to be schemed in. The same knock on Wendell, but now the Giants have a team that can accomplish that and not just have Jason Garrett running the stick every play and you know, failing to run the ball on first down every single first down.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to see that offense again. If we do, I'll just go jump off the Brooklyn Bridge and be over with it because I can't deal with that anymore.
Dan, what do you think?
I don't know. You guys said a lot of things. I don't really care about Giants fans saying the pick was bad. Like, you can say the pick is bad. Like, that's your opinion. Like, that's why we're a fan base. I'm sure other teams have toxic, as you said, Colin, relationships with the draft or what their team decides to do. I think it hurt particularly because like Andrew Booth went right before to the Vikings, and I was really hoping for that.
Yeah, sure.
As far as like Wan'Dale Robinson, I would like, so I wouldn't have been mad if we took a wide receiver in the second round. That like, if we took George Pickens there, I would have been pretty pumped. I really liked him. I thought he was sort of a high value outside wide receiver. And like, obviously the guys that came after that weren't wide receivers, like a Jabo or, you know, Brisker or, you know, a few other people would have been pretty psyched about. But I think Wan'Dale is going to be really interesting. Like, you got to like frame it as the team we're aiming to be, whether that's the Chiefs or the Bills, whether that's like a Cole Beasley, Gabe Davis kind of thing, or like a Mecole Hardman, Tyreek Hill kind of thing. That, like you're saying, Colin, the offense is going to look totally different. we've been saying it forever, but the most potent offenses run motion, a ton, like 70% of the time. I think the Rams run option every play.
Yeah.
And they also run play action. So if you have all these guys that can get the ball in the backfield or run routes and need to be accounted for no matter where they are on the field, it's going to create a lot of confusion and overcome a lot of our weaknesses. Say our inability to run up the middle. You can play action and then get it to space to Wendell Robinson or Kadarius Toney, who's liable to break it off for 12 or 30 yards because they're just unique movers. Wandale has like a unique college career. He played in Nebraska and then went to Kentucky. Didn't have a great, at least statistic wise, career at Nebraska, but from people that watch, what is that, Big Ten?
Mhm.
Big they said he was the highlight of that offense and made the most of what little they had going these past few years in Nebraska.
Why did he transfer? Do you know?
I don't know. Probably wanted to play in an offense that used him better.
Yeah.
Is he from Kentucky?
Yeah. Yes, he is.
I think that might have been something to do with it. But like you said, ultra productive there. I think the thing that's a hard pill for all us to swallow is his size. You taking someone that high, you don't want someone that was seemingly a gadget player. 5'8" and what is he, 175?
173 or something. Yeah.
Smaller dude, but from all accounts, he's really strong for his size and really slippery. And again, this comes to like my ultimate thesis is he's going to be super fun to watch. Like when he's on the field, you're going to want to see what he does with the ball in his hands, and comparing with someone like Kadarius Toney, all goes well with him. Super exciting. I mean,
it seems like the Giants have a lot of speed at this position and a lot of talent at this position. And I don't think that there's enough corner talent on a lot of teams to handle it.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. But
I think Galladay gets forgotten about in all of this.
That's right. Like if all else fails, to throw a jump ball to Kenny Galladay.
Yeah, right. I mean,
and he's bound to have a bounce back.
I mean, he has to. He can't have a worse year than last year. It's
Exactly.
like almost statistically impossible.
Well, they didn't throw him the ball. They just
exactly why they didn't throw him the ball at all.
Nope. And you keep saying like the knock on these dudes is like scheming them in. Like that's quite literally the job of an offensive coordinator, is to create a offensive scheme to give your playmakers the ball. And what we saw,
couldn't do that.
I know what do Giants fans want, what we've always seen, which is like, okay, we're going to run a play, but whatever the play is, it's not going to matter because we're just going to check down to Saquon every time because we don't have a cogent, offensive thesis. It's infuriating. I don't think people realize how much better this is going to be just because of the coaching staff is different.
Yeah,
exactly. If we didn't draft anyone, our team is going to be 25% better.
Yeah.
And let them go get the guys that they want, that they think are going to work in the offense. I think the
that's the thing too, right?
Pick was for that and for the wrong reason, but we'll get into that later. But
I've been saying like Wandale Robinson, right? He wasn't in this realm for the picks, but them picking him specifically ahead of a bunch of other people, goes to that idea that they have a very specific idea of what they want to do and how they're going to get there. And he's a very specific kind of player to help them realize that goal. And if that's the goal, that's an exciting style of football.
And they picked him there because they probably had the news that there were teams behind him that wanted him too. Why wouldn't they wait? Because they wouldn't think he was going to be there. That's something to think about.
And you picked up two picks in the process too.
Well, that was the best part. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, anything else about Wendell? Should we move on to Joshua?
Yeah, let's move on.
Just get ready. It's gonna be fun. Like
yeah,
it's not we drafted like a super overrated or like underrated, guard or boring tight end. Like he's a super fun wide receiver. And the very least, it's gonna be fun to see what happens.
I mean, I hope the same people mad at this were mad at Toney last year. Because it's the same. It
wasn't the first round pick.
It wasn't the first round pick, but it was
we had
sort
addressed
a luxury. Yeah,
we probably should have addressed like offensive line and defensive line beforehand.
But there you go. The Giants did that, and then got who they wanted to fit into their upcoming offense. Anyway,
exactly. Yeah.
Have faith, people. Joshua Ezeudu, offensive guard, North Carolina. This third round pick, 64. I mean, he was the best player on a what was a bad North Carolina line. Has versatility to play guard and tackle. Did both.
On the same drive sometimes.
He's he's big dude, 6'4", 325. Intriguing prospect to me, I think, in terms of where he landed. But I keep wanting to say, or I want to say, I saw him in mocks here or there, but I feel like that's such an irrelevant thing to say in this particular draft. But I mean, I think he'll end up either starting sooner than later, probably just based upon the interior linemen available on this team right now. I mean, what do you guys feel any particular way about him? Or
well, I think what keeps coming back, and it goes to the change regime again, of course, too. We had these high hopes for the Joe Judge era of him talking about versatility and priding themselves on wanting players like that. Problem is when you can't do anything with any of these players, it doesn't matter. But this front office, I feel like, has the ability to do something with it and actually leans into the versatile aspect of things. All the players that were drafted, for the most part, can be moved around. They can do multiple things. And it's almost like they leaned into A, athleticism, and B, versatility in that order. And this guy's just another example of it, especially when he's that early going too. I mean, I don't know. I don't know a hell of a lot about him at all, to be honest, but he's huge. And, I would imagine he's coachable. Like I said before, they spent a lot of time in North Carolina, so they know. I don't know how much more I can talk about it. I mean, he's a giant man. All the offensive linemen that we got are huge, way big.
It's a good quality to have as an offensive lineman.
Can't teach it.
Can't teach it. I'll say, like, again, he didn't appear in any of my mocks. I don't know if he was even had a PFF grade, but versatility is always a premium, especially where nothing's defined in our offensive line. And also, like, he seems like a super. I never like evaluating players on this, but it's important. He seems like a super high character guy. If you've seen the interviews with him, just really thoughtful. He had a lot to say. He grew up with a stutter. And he's really proud of how far he's made it, and he looks at himself as an example to other kids that might have the same affliction and an ability to be a role model. He seems like a really good human, and if we're collecting good humans, like I think that they've done so far with all accounts. Wan'Dale Robinson as well seems like just a great guy. So maybe it's a little culture building too, but you have a versatile guy with great upside and size. Again, there's other offensive linemen we definitely liked a lot, and some of the offensive linemen we liked in our mocks went undrafted. So what do we know? I'm not an expert on interior offensive line play. I don't crunch that tape.
I mean,
I thought you did.
You should, considering that was your forte back in the day.
I was a tackle, dude. I wasn't interior.
Dan was looking for the big bucks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was a pulling tackle. What do you know about that?
Well, that's what I mean. You pulled. You were like the most anti-tackle of all time.
I don't know what scheme you guys were running there, but
I blocked cornerbacks and safeties more than down linemen. So
yeah,
it's insane.
Sounds like a hard assignment for a big man. Let's move on, guys. Cornerback LSU Cordell Flott, round 3, pick 81. Dan, you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. This is one of the guys that I was always looking at in and around this area of the draft when I was running my mocks.
Same here.
Great size, 6'1", super light, again, like 175. But his strengths are in man and press coverage. Really gifted athlete. He played outside, nickel, and safety. Again, that versatility. And the thought on him is that he's got great instincts, really, sort of instinctual player, and with some polish and some weight gain, he could be, a true man coverage corner, which is what you need in this league. It's really hard to run a zone scheme back there, and I think Wink probably wants to have his corners play man and press and let everyone take care of their business that way. So I think high upside, but a bit of a project. And coming from LSU and playing with those players, I always, would bet on a guy from that team.
Yeah, I mean, we have a fairly good track record. I mean, I can't help but think about Quebster, your boy. You know, he
Webster.
caught the last
Corey
pass.
Webster.
Caught the
For
last
those
Packers Brett Favre pass of all time. Can't
ball.
forget that.
Yeah.
That was a fun day.
I think being as light as he is kind of worries me a little bit. You do hope that he has the capability to put on a little weight because he has the playability, especially the wing style of defense. Like I kept, when I was listening to you, Dan, I was like picturing him in Ravens purple because he strikes me as the kind of
his last name looks like it belongs on a Raven jersey.
Yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
like, hey, if we can get a defense that has that nasty attitude like he had there, I'll take it. Yeah, we'll see, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he can play the outside. He projects a little more into the slot, but just for me, it's kind of like the Giants the last 3 years have now picked like a slot cornerback, which is fine. I know, we often say you can't have enough cover corners, and I guess, Shane and co, wanted to get their guy to play that position. The only thing I'm thinking is that, with his size, I was reading that the press coverage with him is really not his forte, that he's easy to beat on the inside. If you make an inside move on him, if he has to play up on a player. That being said, I have read that he can do man in zone. He's just going to have to put on some weight and, or, give more of a cushion. I know the Giants like to do that last year. Obviously things have changed, so we'll see how that goes. But I mean, he's not going to play the run. He can't tackle. But I did read that, when he does have the ball in his hands, he is very dangerous. So maybe I think early on, while he develops that technique, put stuff on with the ball in his hands, Dan. I mean, when he gets an interception or on special teams. So I'm thinking.
So make sure he gets a lot of interceptions, and then we'll take it from there.
I'm thinking that, it's early on while he develops that technique, puts the weight on. I think maybe kick returning, punt returning, special teams contributor, being a gunner, I think is where his going to land early on in his career.
I think we might see Wan'Dale Robinson returning some kicks too.
Probably.
I mean, who did the Giants picked up a returner too? But it's great to have depth at that position and not have to put out your starting safety to return punts. Is something that I didn't want to see.
TJ, instead of drafting Cordell Flott, we could have drafted your draft lover, Cameron Thomas. Does that sting?
I thought he went in the third. Oh no! Oh, you're right. Yep. Yeah. And he went somewhere who I thought had a really good draft too. Where did he end?
No,
up?
He didn't. He went to the Cardinals.
Never mind. Okay,
the worst
they did not have a good draft. That's all right. The Giants addressed, I think, the pass rush, and I think they needed to address the secondary. So I'm glad they used this pick to address the secondary.
And then with the next one, addressed another position that was of need.
The tight end. Daniel, or it's not Daniel, it's David Bellinger, isn't it?
No, it's
Daniel. I forgot because I wrote David first, and then I fixed it to Daniel, and then I forgot that I fixed it.
No, let's set the precedent now. Just call him David.
All right, Daniel Bellinger, tight end, San Diego State, who I'll just start and just say that what I'm reading is the opposite of Evan Ingram, which I think we're all going to be happy about to a degree.
I mean, his first best skill as a tight end is run blocking. Love that, and he was underutilized at San Diego State because they were more of a run offense anyway. He ran I saw 4.56 40 at certain points. That's pretty incredible. I think he's a kind of guy that's like waiting to be unleashed, and I feel like get him coached up and he could be a possible starter. I mean, I've read a bunch of places where he, going back to what we talked about leading up to the draft, is the tight end position was super deep, and he was one of those guys floated around right around this spot. As soon as the pick was called, I was like, that. I mean, it felt very mock drafty at that point. I was like, all right, perfect. That's kind of where 4 or 5 is where I would have wanted to go tight end anyway. He had 0 drops last season, which is pretty awesome. I mean, I don't know how many balls he got thrown. Maybe it was 5, but
he had 31 catches last year.
Okay, great. Amazing. He's drawn comparisons to Dawson Knox, who obviously was someone who was unheralded in Buffalo before being coached up and kind of blowing up. So if they can kind of work the same magic with him, bring him along slowly, I'm sure he'll be just that second tight end for a while in big packages, and then sprinkle it in when you think the defense is sleeping. I think that's a perfect way to bring him up. hopefully Seals Jones kind of takes him under his wing. And I don't know. I'm pretty excited about that because at that point, I don't even know who was still on the board tight end wise, but he was one of the bigger names left.
Do you think Seals Jones will take him under his flipper? And not his wing?
I had a feeling. I would try to figure out a quick joke, but I was like, he doesn't fly. That's not flying. That's swimming. So I can't do this.
I think this is one of the guys that we highlighted a bunch of times, like when we were doing our mocks.
Yeah.
Although I don't think he's as polished or engineered as a pass receiving tight end like Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox was like very much a receiver first tight end. So I think Bellinger might be like, how we remembered Kevin Boss or
Sure.
Ballard, maybe that type of
Love it.
sort of unassuming speed, can catch balls down the seam, and hopefully block fairly well. He's certainly got the size. He's 6'6", 250. But solid pick. I think this is the kind of guy you need. And like you said, we have Ricky Seals-Jones, who is a converted wide receiver, and Jordan Akins, who is maybe closer to the Y tight end. But that's all of a sudden it's a somewhat decent tight end room, or at least serviceable. Like, I don't think it's going to hurt us.
It's not going to be a strength, but
it's not going to be any worse than it was.
Yeah.
You lack that high end pass catcher, but I think a lot of teams do. I mean, Seals Jones is going to catch the balls, and the two tight end sets. Bellinger is going to he's a blocker first, but he can catch the ball, and he has really good hands, as Colin said, which is why I said he's the opposite of Evan Ingram, because he's not super athletic, but he can hold on to the ball.
Yeah. And also, like, you don't want any of our tight ends catching the ball when our other personnel is, Kadarius Toney and Wan'Dale Robinson and Kenny Galladay and Saquon. Like,
catch him sleeping. That's how you catch him sleeping.
I think you'll see Bellinger, though, on third down. I think, I read that he can line up as an H-back, too. I think you might see him be a check down guy, get you out of some of those harder third down situations early on, at least. He's probably not going to be running down the seam, catching balls and scoring touchdowns. But, for a quarterback, kind of having that out, a reliable receiver, a big-bodied guy, you can kind of, with a big catch radius, is going to be a positive for Jones moving forward. And the
soft
offense
hands.
in general. Very
soft hands.
Mm-hmm.
You have hard hands. Stone hands.
That's right.
As we called it. Now, guys, I think we wanted to do the whole draft, but we're kind of running out of time. Let's wrap it up, and we will do the rest of the draft next week and touch on some undrafted free agents is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening tonight. We'll see you next week. Please follow Big Blue United on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You got BBU Pod Boys with a Z on Twitter, the Pigskin Podcast Network. Download that DraftKings app. Use promo code TPPN. Grab a bottle of NEFT Vodka at your local liquor store, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.